The following program is rated GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
In a world where education is hailed as the key to opportunity, there exists a stark reality for many. Despite their talents, skills, and aspirations, a significant segment of society remains marginalized, their potential untapped, and their dreams deferred.
I've really experienced a lot of discrimination in these governmental organizations, especially when it comes to looking for jobs.
I'm a telephone operator and reception. I've never got a job, but I was attachment in Kenyatta. After nimemaliza college level, nilitwa attachment KNH.
Today we turn our gaze to the harsh reality faced by persons with disabilities in their pursuit of employment. We explore the intersection of law, governance, and the relentless pursuit of inclusive workplaces. All right, so Wakili Emily Murigu will help us unpack this talk about, what the employment space is like for persons with disability. And she is a practicing advocate, and she's opened her doors to her office so that at least we can chit-chat with her. Perhaps we just get to understand what it is that they do here, especially in relation to human rights.
Thank you so much. And karibuni sana.
Asante.
At the Democracy and Legal Aid Center, we foster inclusivity and dignity for all, especially persons with disability. And today I'm delighted to discuss access to employment and employment rights for persons with disability.
How far are we as a country if we're going to talk about access to employment when we're looking at persons with disabilities?
Access to employment starts from access to information. Are you informed? Do you have education? Access to education.
Right.
Access to opportunities. Do we get to know these opportunities are there, and are they willing to accommodate those persons with disability? So we have law in place, we have structures in place, but we lack the willpower to implement the same.
On several occasions, I've hosted persons with disability whom will always complain that, employment activity, opportunities are a problem. And even in the event that you get opportunities, there are no accommodative aspects to this. Just how much are the laws, being put to place towards ensuring that this then is achieved? Because it's one thing to have a law, for it to be put to action. Why would we talk about having laws yet we are not seeing them being implemented?
Article 41 of the Constitution
Right.
provides for fair labor practices for all. And this includes persons with disability, where I would even merge it with Article 27 on equity. One should not be discriminated upon while accessing their labor rights or exercising their labor rights because of a disability. One should not. But it starts with the person themselves. I keep encouraging persons with disability to have access to education.
Right.
If you're a parent and you have a child with disability, don't lock the child up. Let the child go to school. We're encouraging an all-inclusive education system. And currently we have the Learners with Disability Bill in Parliament that is even up for public participation.
Right.
Could parents who are key stakeholders to this join in this public participation? Could we all, at a family level, love and foster inclusivity at a family level,
Right.
so that we get to see these as children like every other child, allow them access to playing? You want to take your child to birthday, even this child with disability, let them be exposed to all this. They grow up like that. They grow up having proper education. They don't have curriculums that are sort of those that discriminate on them because of their disability. They grow up being allowed access to education to an extent that even a person with a physical disability is allowed to make a decision on what courses they want to do in university. That empowered young girl or young boy who now transitions to an adult definitely will be able to access the job market like every other person. And because they have grown up like that, we have all grown up like that, we have inculcated an attitude of love.
Right.
Amongst us all as a society, it becomes accommodative to have equal employment opportunities even to persons with disability.
Yeah, my assumption would be that we declare that some of these laws are really not being implemented as should, based on the ratio maybe of persons with disability compared to the numbers that are actually, actively in the job market or are actively accommodated in that space of jobs. Just how then do the laws come in to protect the rights of persons with disabilities, and this especially when it comes to the point where they already have access to the work, when we're looking about when we're looking at accommodation as well as the aspect of discrimination, and sometimes how we get to prevent these components of discrimination.
I feel as though the laws are very accommodative and they are very progressed, because we have an affirmative action in this country where all employers have, during an employment advert, you have to state and encourage persons with disability, among other vulnerable groups, to apply for this job opportunity. So the thing is, for those persons with disability to have confidence, apply for these opportunities. And it doesn't end at that. When they are employed, let us have proper working conditions, a proper work environment that accommodates them and their caregivers and their aides. Yes.
All right. Sometimes some disability cases, cases that you probably cannot see, would call them non-visible conditions. Just how much information needs to be dished out, for these persons with disabilities, so that they can be comfortable that this information is out, at the space of work, and I can be accommodated without any element of discrimination or stigma. And also, just how much can you keep to yourself, and how much of a right do you have to do that?
There are data protection laws currently. So all information that is out should be information that you have consented to it being out. However, I keep saying there is no stigma in being a person with disability. No. So speak out. And thank you for such a platform where we get to sensitize and create awareness that indeed disability is not inability. Yes. So from your question, I really should encourage Kenyans to not not look down on themselves because they are persons with disability. No, speak out. However, now when it comes to matters employment, a person who is a person with disability should not be discriminated upon based on their disability, whether it is disability at the point where I am getting into the job, or it is acquired disability during my tenure working in this place. What to look out for is this acquired disability. Does it have nexus to what really are the terms of agreement? What are the terms of the contract? If I am able to do that which I am assigned to do, I should be allowed to. And if when I am not able to, I should be given an assistant. Look at it on the positive, we are creating more employment. And that means that the person with disability and their assistant, they both have, they should have equal access to leave days. Don't look at a person and say, because this person can only sit here for 3 hours, then I am not going to allow this person to have their annual leave. No, that is infringing into their rights. They should be able to enjoy their rights that are enshrined in the Constitution, participating in strikes, joining trade unions and federations, enjoying their remuneration. They should be properly remunerated. Don't underpay this person with disability just because they have a disability, or just because you're paying the person with disability and their assistant. So you tell them, share your salary. No, they should be paid for separately. Those are the things that I believe we need to create awareness on. And even for employers who are persons with disability, they have their rights enshrined in Article 41 of the Constitution that provides they are allowed to join those employer unions and to have policies at their workplaces like any other employer. Yes.
How do they get, now as employers to navigate legal requirements that would be there, as well as, say, obligations when bringing and as well accommodating persons with disability in their workspaces?
Accessibility. Let's start with the structural accessibility. For you, if my office is in first floor and I have stairs to getting to first floor, this building should be able to have a lift or a ramp, well-lit rooms, huge office spaces, and door spaces that can accommodate someone who even has mobility constraints. That is one. Second, there are those people who need assistance. Allow them to be and allow them to have their assistance. And there are those who are caregivers to children with disability who are also seeking employment. And maybe this person is asking, you don't even have a place to leave your child with disability, and you probably want to carry your child to work. What do? Do you lose your job because you don't have someone to entrust your child with? No. So those are some of the examples that we need to raise awareness on, so that we get to promote inclusivity for all in this employment space.
Okay. I am keen to just get to understand how far we are at in terms of, achieving some of these, concerns, or addressing some of these concerns that you have highlighted. Because it's one thing to speak about them, it's another to actually see them being implemented. Are there any landmark cases or legal, precedents that have notably been shaped or have notably been seen or experienced, so that we could say these ones we can pinpoint and confidently tell a person with disability that it's fine, this has happened to you, it happened to somebody so and this is how it was addressed? Quickly, before we take a quick short break.
I want to encourage every person with disability whose rights are infringed, do not shy from reporting to the labor offices, approaching an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, and filing a matter in court. Labor courts are very progressive in this country, and they do not look down on people based on their disability. And we have so many judgments, especially where someone was discriminated upon because of their disability or because of a health status or any other reason for unfair termination. Labor courts are there. And also there is alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, which are even faster. Mediation, you sit down, you have a mediator, a certified mediator, you can negotiate, you sit down and talk the matter between employer-employee relationship. I have worked for you, I have just acquired a disability, why are you quicking? And you sit down and come to a conclusion, a reasonable conclusion, even before you proceed to court. However, I don't know of any person who has not yet accessed justice by having their matters ruled on grounds of disability, discrimination based on disability. It may take time. It may take time because court processes take time. Right. But at the end of the day, justice will be served.
Okay. Well, good. Wakili here unpacking some of these, important factors that you might actually need to know. And we keep saying that everyone is a candidate, so do not assume that just because you do not have any form of a disability that perhaps this is not your talk. It is important that you listen in. Just when it hits home is when you probably would want to get this kind of advice and actually put it to use. Allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back and pack some more. Remember, the conversation is about persons with disability and their access to the job market. Welcome back to Beyond the Limit, and Wakili Emily Murigu is our guest tonight, just unpacking, all this space and the legal space for that matter for persons with disability, especially when it comes to their access to employment, job opportunities right here. It is one thing to have the difficulties in accessing employment. It is another to actually be in that space, but almost feeling like you're not safe. You feel like, before you know it, tomorrow you will wake up and you probably do not have this job anymore. So we want to just understand some more. What does it take to seek legal, advice? What does it take to seek legal action that would actually help you in the event that maybe you're unfairly terminated, or you feel like, your workspace does not accommodate your needs as should be? So Wakili, we go straight to these cases of, termination. And I know most of the times we want to discuss unfair termination, but equally there are instances where you've been terminated and it's fairly. So please bring us up to speed as to how this, then, one should understand the balance and how it should be handled in the event that it is unfair termination.
So the Employment Act provides for procedures that distinguish fair termination from unfair termination. You should be given a notice, 4 notices, which should state exactly what it is you have done or what it is you're being accused of doing. Okay. Amongst them, the 4th one should be in writing. you should be given fair hearing after issuance of the notices. Once you're given fair hearing, and what is fair hearing? Fair hearing is an opportunity for you to defend yourself.
Right.
And during the fair hearing, you're allowed for representation, where you can come in with an advocate, you can come in with a colleague, you can come in with a member of the trade union where you are part of. Remember, we said amongst the rights is a right to join a trade union that suits you. So you will listen to what you're being accused of, you will respond to the same, and you'll get a verdict. If you're not okay with the verdict that has been given, you can always appeal the matter. So if this process has not been followed, that is what is called unfair termination. Where it has been followed, that is now where it is fair termination. So if it is, I want to inform you, with notice, if I want to give you notice, if you're a casual laborer is that one who works for 24 hours.
Right.
I need to give you notice of 24 hours. So it's not at evening, at the end of the day, that I tell you tomorrow don't come in. No, I should tell you by the end of tomorrow, your contract is over. Right. If it is a short-term contract of 7 days, I need to give you a notice of 7 days. If it is a full-time employment, 1 month notice.
Okay.
Or as provided for by the contract, the terms of agreement. So I'm always keen on telling people, please read through the contract. A proper employment contract should define the persons. Who is your employer? Who's the employee? What is the remuneration? What is the period for which you're working? What are the working hours? What happens beyond the working hours? And it is also important, I note that we have rights and we have benefits, or entitlements and benefits. Entitlements is that which is your right. You have a right to annual leave. You have a right to joining trade unions. You have a right to promotions.
Right.
Yeah? On an equality basis. You should not be discriminated upon for this case as a person of disability and denied for an opportunity to be promoted while you qualify in every other thing. What is a benefit? For instance, health cover. Those are the benefits. That which can be taken away from you by the employer, and it is still legal. So once you understand these are your rights, at what point do you feel infringed? When there is a breach of contract.
Yeah.
That is where now you can always have a recourse. One, we encourage a person to report to the labor offices within a month, file a matter in court within a year. Yes. In this case now, once the process, the access to justice part of it starts with reporting. And that is where we see persons with disability facing challenges. It starts with accessibility to the police desk, mobility constraints to that police station. At that police station, we lack even translators. Maybe I'm deaf and dumb. How to communicate effectively? I do not have a hearing aid. I can't tell your language. Maybe there's language barrier. From the point of reporting to the date where you receive your judgment. That is the whole process on access to justice. Of course, there are challenges that are faced by persons with disability in terms of accessing justice, but we are heading on the right direction. For instance, now we have digitization of access to justice. What I would urge everyone is to just visit your advocate. Visit an advocate you're comfortable with, and just to inform the persons with disability who do not have finances to pay these advocates. There are organizations, for instance, the Democracy and Legal Aid Center, where you're able to offer legal solutions to those persons with disability.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and of course that would be one of the biggest concerns. Just how much is this information out there? We would want to assume that, well, everyone has access to information, but just how aware are these persons in the country, for instance, in terms of all these legal options that are available for them, in terms of, all these forms of aid that are available for them, in terms of, them understanding that actually the employment space is open for them?
There's need for sensitization. There's need for creation of awareness, both in the urban and the rural setup.
The rural perhaps more, because it's rampant down there.
But let me tell you, We are also facing economic challenges that do not allow us time to even join these public participations, do not allow us time to sit and watch news where we get information. But I'm grateful for such a platform where you have a program just to sensitize, to create awareness to all on matters inclusivity for persons with disability, because it's all an attitude change. Once I have this information, I get to share with another person, and I become my brother's keeper so that we can minimize a lot of illegalities that happen in this country.
All right, and as we come to a close, what is this one thing that perhaps you should remind those persons with disability in terms of their concerns, and especially when it comes to access for, employment? Because today we talk about lack of employment for very many Kenyans who perhaps do not have any form of disability. How much more for them that would be looked at as though they are a bit disadvantaged?
If you have educational or professional qualifications, do not shy from applying for a job. If you lack that, do not shy from applying for jobs in the informal setups. We have casual laborers, and we sensitize on the need for inclusivity for all, even at the casual laborer setup, where the person can do, if whatever the person can do, allow the person to do and feed their family. That is what I would encourage them. Don't lock yourself up. Don't look down on yourself. No, there are opportunities, and it also starts with empowering yourself. Are there free courses that you can attend? Attend them. Are there courses that you can pay for and attend them? Where you need help, seek for that help. Yes. Okay.
And I think that's the backbone of this conversation, that first of all, focus on empowering yourself, focus on making sure that you sharpen yourself, so that even when you're presenting your CVs, this goes all the way beyond what it is that your situation is at. Is it unique to different persons with disability, especially when we're looking at the market of employment?
The law does not discriminate them based on their disability, and we have to appreciate that disability is diverse, but the law is there to protect each and every person equally. So don't step out, look for the opportunity, apply for it. Where you feel you are locked out of that recruitment process because of your disability, you can always challenge it in court. Work environment should have policies that protect all employees. So that is one thing we need to look through our HR manuals. What are my benefits? What are my entitlements? It's all a question of knowing what your rights are and identifying this has been infringed. Raise it up and raise it up properly.
Beautiful. There's no better way to say it before we come to a close. Just how do they get to access, say, your institution that as well would accord them, services at a point of need, and basically depending on what it is that then you would be helping them address?
Democracy and Legal Aid Center is currently in Nairobi County, Nakuru County, and Kajiado County. So there we are able to reach out not just to persons with disability, but to also women, especially the rural women under gender-based violence and the marginalized community. So we have different programs. We are running programs on accessibility to access to justice, access to education, access to healthcare for this vulnerable target that we provide our services at. It's a way of giving back to the society. It's a pool of advocates basically giving back to the society.
Beautiful. How do they get you online? Because that's the closest that they can get to before they get to Nakuru, Kajiado, or Nairobi.
Those are the people where our physical offices are situated at. We are on Instagram, DLAC Kenya. We are on X, DLAC Kenya. We are on Facebook, Democracy and Legal Aid Center. DLAC is the short form for Democracy and Legal Aid Center. We are on all those social medias. Just type Democracy and Legal Aid Center or DLAC Kenya.
All right. This case could be unique to you, or perhaps you are experiencing it as we speak and you're just asking yourself, how do I go about it? There you have it. Beyond the Limit is beyond what it is that you can imagine, where we make sure that as well we bring you solutions to some of the concerns that you would be having. Thank you so much for always keeping it TV47. My name is Linda Alela. It was good having you. Once again, Emily Murigu, the Wakili of the Day, thank you so much as well for speaking to us and for the immense information that you have quoted to us this night. Thank you.